Carol, thank you. I will start introducing myself because this is the first time I join a call. Well, so I'm alumni of LPG 14. That were the ones who started, well, in 2017. I think some familiar faces, some others are new. Very happy to see how solidarity and networks can be continue strengthened and reinforced in these times. So I work as I live in Germany. I still live in Berlin. I've been working in the topic of universal basic income and just scanning, well, the minute of the last conversation you had. I saw also that there was some of the topics that were discussed in the past. So if you want, we can start giving like some topics that between us 16 that are here want to prioritize in our debate. And then I will take notes of all of this, and then we open one by topic, if you agree. And I can also take order of who wants to talk, to do it like maybe more organized. So just then I put then in the table the universal basic income topic, and other topics were support workers on the front line, defend public services, support distancing, and support those out of work. So, well, is it open if someone wants to also say some topics, and then we organize the agenda? Someone else wants to propose a different topic today, apart of those kind of 5 I mentioned? Or you think, sorry, maybe I interrupt. Yo Portillo wanted to say something.
Not now.
Just thought if it will be a good idea, Harald, I don't know, to introduce ourselves also.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea if we introduce ourselves. So what about if like we start then with Yo Portillo? Can you tell us more about you?
Yes. I'm from the LPG, the one. That's why I'm almost crying here. I'm very sensitive today, especially. I'm from Brazil, and I'm a bank. I was a banking worker, trade unionist, when I was a student in LPG in Berlin, the first intake. Now I am retired as a bank worker. As you can see over there, I am a militant from PP, the Labour Party, and we are facing the worst moments in my country with a fascist government and facing problems with COVID as well, as everyone, but political problems. I left the union because I'm retired, but I'm still a militant, and my area is labor. That's it.
Okay, thanks. David, can you continue, please?
Sure, yeah, hi. I'm from LPG, I forget which one it was. 12. Yeah, LPG 12, the best LPG, of course, I think. That's well known. Yeah, I was working since I finished, I've been working with the Metal Workers Union. I did an internship at the ILO, the German Metal Workers Union, and now I'm doing a PhD. So, as well as the alumni rep for Europe and the Middle East.
Thanks. Lee?
Sorry.
Hi, my name's Lee Hughes. I'm from LPG 14. My union here in Australia is the Community Public Sector Union for Public Service Workers. So yeah, I guess it's good to see some familiar faces and to see some new ones as well. Yeah, interested in just kind of hearing what people are doing around the world and what kind of union responses we're seeing to the, I guess, the virus and the economic situation as well.
Thanks. Wilfried Schwetz.
Hello, I'm Wilfried from LPG1. Hello. And others. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, since this long time now, I'm doing a statistic research for union organizing campaign. Most of the time as a freelancer, in between for 2 years with IG Metal. Yeah, that is what I have to say.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, for the people who are just joining, we are introducing ourselves. Please put their microphones off if there is some sound around.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Gaia, we can.
Great. This is Gaia Yilmaz. I am from Turkey. I'm also from LPG1. Unfortunately, I missed the last meeting on last Monday. I'm sorry for technical reasons. I couldn't be able to join you. I'm happy with you.
Yeah, nice that you are here today. So I'm Veronica moderating today. We will keep then with the introduction round. Yeah.
Great.
So Harald, can you tell us about you, please?
Yes, I'm Harold from Germany. I was studying with Wilfried, Gaia, and Joe, who are in this meeting in LPG1 as well, many, many years ago. And since then, I have been working for the GLUE as a freelancer in different functions. So for example, I'm organizing summer schools, not every year, but most of the years. I'm doing some work for the GLUE labor column, for the working papers. I'm, as you have already noticed, I'm also responsible more or less for the alumni network in terms of keeping our database up to date and stuff like this. So yes, I'm working with the GLUE mostly, but also for other universities as a freelancer. And yeah, I'm living in Ukraine, but because of the Corona crisis, we means my family and me, we left Ukraine some weeks ago, went back to Germany. We couldn't go back to our flat, but we are now in a different city, so we will wait here until the times are getting better, and we are going back to Ukraine for the end of the year. And yeah, that's about me.
Murdock.
Okay, I'm Murdock and I'm LPG 12 together with David. So we started in 2015-16, and since I graduate at GLUE, I'm working for the European Trade Union Confederation in their regional office in Belgrade, covering trade unions in the Western Balkans in the terms of their joint cooperation and their reform during the process of EU accession. Yeah, short. I hope I was clear.
Good. Hyun Soo, please.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so my name is Hyun-Soo Hwang. My union is Korean. I'm from South Korea, so I'm in South Korea. My union is Korean Teachers and Education Workers Union. We call it KTU, and so I studied at Pennsylvania State University from 2015 to 2016. Yeah, so under the instruction of Mark Anner, Professor Mark Anner. And so, yeah, so I'm also a classroom teacher. And so I'm teaching the 10th graders now, but our schools is closed now. So all of the South Korean schools are closed now. So just I go to school, but there are no students, just the teachers. We are preparing for online class now. So we are conducting the online classes these days. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Please, Nicolo Giangrande.
Hi, my name is Nicolo. I'm from Italy. I did the Global Labor University in Brazil in 2014. I'm finishing my PhD, which I did between Italy and Cambridge in the United Kingdom. Since 2 years, I'm professor in Brazil in economics, and nowadays I'm academic member of the CGL Economic Forum in Italy.
Thank you. Then can we continue with someone which is user, his name, there is just user PC. But yeah, you. Can you? And yeah.
Okay, hi everyone.
Hi.
So sorry that it shows my name is not indicated. My name is Muttaqa Yushau. Graduated Muttaqa Yushau, graduated from the University of Witwatersrand, that is LD, Labor and Development 7. And I'm currently working with the Nigerian Labour Congress in the Education Department. NLC is the Central Labour Organization in Nigeria. Nice to meet all of you, and look forward to fruitful discussion on how to strengthen our responses during the COVID crisis and also the post-COVID reconstruction. Thank you.
Thanks. Please, Nadia Tyson. No, you need to.
Okay,
yes.
are you hearing me now? Okay, I'm Nadia Tyson from the beautiful island of Jamaica. I was with the Global Labour University Group 3 in Kassel and Berlin. Starting back then, I have been a union delegate, but have worked through the union organization and also with the Ministry of Labour. I am now in the hotel sector. Unfortunately, here in the hotel sector, the capitalists have worked their way of removing all organized union from the sector in Jamaica. I still work along with the university, and we have an arm for the trade union, the Hugh Lawson Shearer arm, of which deals with the education for trade union in Jamaica. So my main focus is to, as we look in Jamaica, the quality of life. How do we get through this crisis? And also how, in my dialogue with other union delegates, union personnel at the university, how do we create a plan to get us through all of this? How do we come out this as a stronger body of trade unions dealing with workers' rights?
Okay, thanks. Please, Kristen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen. I did the program at Penn State in 2016, 2017, and I'm in the United States and California. I work for a trade union that represents local government workers for the city of San Francisco and other neighboring cities, and we represent public health workers as well as some school district employees. So we're in the middle of having our workers be frontline essential workers during the time of COVID-19, and also having the dual budget crisis of being public sector employees. So I'm interested to hear what folks are experiencing in other countries along those lines.
Thanks. Gaia, You said before something about you. You want to also complete your introduction.
Yeah. Since I didn't hear what other friends introduced themselves, it's not very sure I know. I didn't tell anything about what I'm doing now, for instance. Actually, I finished my PhD in 2009. And then I started to work in a Turkish university in Istanbul, Boğaziçi University, and I worked a total 8 years. In the last 3 years, however, because of enmity showed by Turkish government, we all have been judged only because we signed a petition named Peace Petition. And then Global Labor University helped me and to my friends, also Tolga and Melahat. We came to Germany together because we were being judged and we didn't know what will happen next. Thanks God, in the end, we were not in jail. I'm still in Germany. I will be back as soon as the bans on borders remove. I will go back to Turkey. And now I'm helping LPG students. I'm assisting them on their assignments, theses, proposals, presentations, and papers. I'm doing what can I do, you know. This is Gaye.
Thank you, Gaye. Please, Parshuram Puda. Sorry if I pronounced it correctly. Parshuram.
Hi, namaste everyone. Good morning and namaste. I'm Parshuram Pudasaini from Nepal. I did my master's from Tata in 2011-13. Nowadays, I'm engaging in trade union movement, especially in public sectors. My union name is Union of Public Service in Nepal, which has 22 other public sectors union like telecom, water resource, and food, like this. Most of time I'm engaging trade union movement, especially in public sectors. Thank you.
Thank you. Parshuram, do you have a video picture or you prefer keep it? Oh yeah, maybe better. Thanks, hello. Yeah, we will continue then with Muttaqa Yushau. Muttaqa? No, he did it before. He changed the name, I think. Yeah, so then please with Rahendra Acharya. You need to activate the microphone, Rahendra.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Okay, here it's already good night because I'm in Singapore. It's nearly 10 o'clock now and 9:30 in the evening. My name is Rajendra Acharya. I did my GL, Globalization and Labor, 2009-2011. I was nominated to do that course from my organization called Uni Global Union. Now I'm working for Uni Global Union. I'm a regional secretary for Asia and Pacific. Currently, we are dealing with the issues that the frontline workers are working, mainly the sectors that we represent, the aged care, home care, and elderly care, postal and delivery workers, food, grocery retailers, financial services, contact center and call center workers, media and reporting people, and more importantly, the cleaners and the janitors. So these are the sectors that are on the front line. We are dealing with them, and I'm very much looking forward to listen all the other experiences in this platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, Kalume, Chadi, please, Maureen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Maureen Kalume. I'm from Kenya. Hello, Lee. Hello, Veronica. LPG 14, the bestest LPG. At the moment, I'm doing another master's in human rights, and I would like to know what the trade unions are doing at this time, especially with the crisis, and how they are handling their own staff, and how they are handling the workers who have been laid off of work. That is my curiosity. That's why I want to participate in this Zoom meeting.
Yeah, thanks. We'll continue with Rahul. Tiwrekar.
Hi, hello everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, so I'm Rahul from India. I hope you can see me. No, yeah. So I am from LPG, the Globalization 11-13 batch from TSS and from Berlin School. So currently I am working with farmers and tribals in India who are mainly facing problems because of the lockdown. And we are trying to help people who are like daily wage earners, because majority of our economy is unorganized. So currently we are working on that. Thank you.
Thank you too. And then I see that we're almost there. We need then to introduce Paul Hacker. Paul?
Yeah, hi everyone. Paul Hacker here from Germany, Social Economy and Labor alumni from, I think, 2010, 2011. Hi. I'm working for the German trade union at the moment, metal work.
Please activate your microphone again.
Sorry, I couldn't hear. There was an incoming call.
Ah. So you need some time, or you can. We heard that you were working with German trade unions.
Yes, I work for German trade unions, local officer in the city of Cologne, working on organizing engineering workers and IT technicians. So, interested in hearing what are your experience at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Good. And Murdock Emisembe, please.
So, hi fellow comrades. I'm Murdock from Kenya. I'm a student currently at LPG 19. Guy is actually my lecturer. Hi, Guy.
Hi.
And I'm just here to listen to the experience that I'm hearing, guys from Singapore, and what you guys are doing. So it's a learning session for me. I have nothing to report other than to listen to the experience on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you too. Well, I think we got all participants. If there's someone who is missing, please let me know. I just see someone else just joined us. Hi, Monica.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. My name is Veronica. Well, we just introduced all of us, and you're the last one. So just in time to, if you want to introduce. Ah, sorry. Vinicius also needs to present himself, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you vote, please. Vinicius and Monica. Please, Monica, if you want to start telling a bit about you, your work briefly, and then Vinicius.
Okay, thank you very much for the welcome. My name is Monica Gashuki. I'm from Kenya, and I currently do research for trade unions. That is in regards to labor matters.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And you, Vinicius Torato?
Hello, everyone. I'm Vinicius Sartorato. I'm from Brazil. Right now, I'm working in the São Paulo State Parliament to one deputy from the Workers' Party. I'm originally from the Teachers Union. And to start, I guess, is it.
Okay, all right. So we are a very diverse group, as always. Like we have the honor to be when it comes to GLUE meetings. And I've heard that there are like different topics that are being raised and interest to get to know more about how certain situations are dealing in different countries around the world. We come from also diverse backgrounds, private and public, well, of course, many different countries, and yeah, and like concerns, of course, about what is happening and what is going on. But we all have in common having like this belief that with the labor perspective and like the labor and workers in front, we will make sure that, you know, we can achieve something better and like, yeah, work and keep the struggle, because something much better needs to be put in place. So coming like with the Rahera say it, and is also in the minute of the last meeting about the workers that are in the front line, I would like maybe to propose this topic as the first one to discuss. So yeah, if Rahera wants to say something else, or if someone wants to say something, they can use the tools that has in Zoom to raise their hands, or just do it in the video, and I will, yeah, keep taking notes and ask for participation. So let's talk about the workers who are in front line. I will start then with Gaye.
Okay. Thank you, Veronica. First of all, I need to ask whom refer by saying frontline workers. Are they health workers, nurses, medical doctors, and all health staffs, or it is also included those who produce food, for instance? It also includes those logistic workers who carry these foods and other necessary materials to the houses. All these are, for me, must be accepted as frontline workers. Do we agree about that? Or we mention only about health workers as frontline workers? First, I need to ask this question. Then I want to continue from here.
Yeah. Well, I will like give the floor to Rahendra, maybe, that he's working in like with the confederation or the federation of workers, but I understand also frontline. I don't know if the others agree with me, but are those that cannot keep in confinement, cannot keep in quarantine, for keep doing like their jobs and keeping with their income. They have to go out, so then including like food workers, people working in supermarkets, in these services, they are in front line because they are also exposing more their health and, let's say, integrity. Are the others like agree with this position, like with a broad meaning of frontline workers? Like, yeah? Or in case some...
I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
Yeah,
okay.
who would like raise maybe
can
the hand?
I think...
Rahendra?
Yeah, yeah. So, no, I agree with both of you, because normally frontline, when it started, you know, we all thought frontline is just health workers. But when this pandemic keep on going, then the impact is now realized by others. And if you have to keep things on, so there are many other sectors or the workers, they are accepted as a frontline workers. So it's not only the health. So I think it depends with the definition, how we define. So in terms of dealing with the patients in the hospitals, the front line would be health workers. But if you take it as a world of work, if we take all the world of work that we survive, we are in quarantine situations, some of us are, we are in isolation. There are people serving us as a front line. So the front line comes with all this broader category. As I said, the food retailer to the grocery retailing. I mean, like, they are the one dealing with the panic shopping people. They are the one, they are beating to the shopping center workers, the grocery retail workers. because there is a scarcity of this sanitation and all these things. The goods are not available there, and there are delivery, logistic, and the postal workers. If you understand the postal workers now, there are news from India, the postal workers are the one, they are serving to the people now. They are the one providing all the equipments, PPEs, and everything to the hospitals, delivering these things there. So there's a huge broad category of, and the cleaners. The cleaners are also on the front line. They are not health workers, they are normal cleaners. So I would agree with both of you that this frontline worker is not only health. So it's a broader concept, broader area of this frontline workers.
Okay, yeah, Gaia.
Veronica, may I add one more category, please? May I add one more category of labor?
Please, yeah.
Yeah, those who lost their jobs in the last 2 months only because of pandemic. They lost their jobs, they have nothing today, and they are categorized under unemployees. They do not go to work. Maybe they are not under the risk of pandemic, but they are under the risk of starvation. Because in some countries like Turkey, governments do not provide any food, do not provide any help, any support to these jobless people. They are faced with serious hunger, they are faced with serious stagnation. So we must also include those.
Yeah, of course. As you said, there is a different category, for maybe the topic. People here also raise the concerns about unemployed people, but maybe let's treat it differently, because if we are talking about frontline workers and we have here people who come from public trade unions, they know also maybe public policies needs to be addressed differently. So let's talk about the
security workers,
first, maybe as the frontline, as we say it, all of them who are out in all of this that were mentioned, and then we go to a next topic, maybe with the unemployed people. So yeah, I see you has also want to say something. Gaia, do you want to say then something more about the workers in the front line?
Okay. These jobless people, they lost their job only 2 months, in the last 2 months. Maybe they had unions, we don't know. Probably some of them had unions, but when they lost their job, they also lost their unions. So if we assume that they are unorganized people, this is wrong for many of them. So we should also consider them. I don't say that they are the primary group in frontline workers. Okay, the front lines are those who are still working. I accept this. I totally understand your point, Veronica. However, we should also consider the other groups who lost their job and who have nothing. And we must connect with their unions soon. Another thing about frontline workers that I need to add, we don't know how many workers will lose their job in next 2 months. Because every day they are losing job, every day, in my country. Because in my country, none of industrial sector, none of business sector are locked down. All workers are going and working every day. Despite government declares several curfews for few days in the weekends, on bank holidays, etc. Only for 2 days, only for 3 days, 4 days, etc. But these workers are still going to work every day, and they think that they are very lucky because they have a job. However, they are under big risk of pandemic.
Yeah, please, Yo Portillo. The microphone.
Frontline workers, just to make it clear, there are some groups of workers. Oh, sorry. Oh, there are some groups of workers that is very clear. nurses, delivery workers. It's very clear, okay? But bank workers is a kind of worker that is in the front line, part of category, because part of the financial workers are working from home. The ones who work in the branches need to be there the whole week, attending people who goes there every day to look for the money from the government to survive. So the branches are full of people looking for money. And it depends on the laws of each different country. I'm sure in Germany, people doesn't go to the bank as much as in Brazil, for example. So it's important to observe the culture of the different countries to see to distinguish who are the frontline workers. The first group, the core group, and the second line group, but still frontline workers. I have here in Brazil several bank workers not only gotten COVID, but also dying, including unionists.
Yeah, very, very sad. Lee wants to also add something.
Hi. Yeah, so one thing I've heard, I guess, these essential workers, frontline workers, described as is, of course, on the one hand, heroes. So, of course, you know, you'll have the health workers being clapped, you know, every evening. And similar things happening in other countries where there'll be this praise for this essential work. And not just health workers, also, you know, delivery drivers, people working in grocery stores. But I've also heard it described as a hostage situation, because these workers, they don't have another option. They can't just stay in their homes and quarantine. They're living from payday to payday, and I feel in that situation, their vulnerability has increased because there's so many more people who are unemployed and looking for work. So they're becoming more and more disposable in that sense. They can, you know, their role is essential, but there's other people who could go into that role. And so I just want to kind of raise the concept now that what I'm seeing at least is, given there is now this growing reserve army of labour, you have the business and governments. On the one hand, they are providing more, you know, charities, more kind of support for unemployed people and doing some things that they wouldn't have done before. But they're also now an opportunity to kind of pursue the anti-worker agenda because workers are now scared of losing their work and are quite willing to accept reductions in their working conditions.
Yeah, well, like for the debate also, any of you know if currently there is a campaign that has been successful supporting those frontline workers carried by a trade union? For instance, like in my country, which is Colombia, I've seen that there is a lot of this collective call that all the workers that are outside should have a mask and should have like also gloves, but there is a lack of the stocks of that. And it's very difficult to get them in the south also because northern countries are buying it more. But still there are some, and sometimes you see that these are being used by some citizens and like maybe even younger people, that are like working there and being the whole day in contact with more people. So I've seen like one campaign that it says about, well, how we can like make sure that the ability or disposability of the quantity of these resources we have goes for the ones that most need it. And like it's also this discourse about making sure that the medical resources goes not into private interests, into first the prioritization line structure should be the ones who most need it. So there was like a media campaign and some others like trade unions and organizations joins on that. And I think like, yeah, I think it's a good message to start showing. Also in the face of vaccination that we don't know where will come and things like that. But for not going like very far, I would like open this debate about campaigns and how we can like interchange idea of campaigns that are going on. Someone wants to maybe say something else? Gaia, please.
Actually, I cannot tell you a success story about Turkey, but I need to remind all you that we should also consider the government's position. In Turkey, all media are censored. You know this word. People are banned to say anything about government policies. They cannot criticize government policies. They cannot complain about government policies. If they do, they are being arrested. Every day, more than 1,000 people are being arrested only because of their social media sharings. So unions are unable to organize huge campaigns. They just say something to remind workers who are in the front line, but these things, or these statements must be very simple, must not be criticism about the government, etc. So we should distinguish countries with authoritarian governments and countries with in comparison democratic government. For instance, in Germany, conditions are totally different. People can do everything, but in Turkey, conditions are totally different. Nobody can say anything, including labor organizations. Of course, they have many proposals, many recommendations about the workers, but when they tell this, they are going jail.
Yeah. Muttaqa wants also to say something.
Okay, thank you very much, Veronica. I would like to thank all the participants in terms of the conceptualization of what a frontline worker is. I think it's very good. But my contribution has to do with the fact that in the management of this pandemic, when we talk of frontline worker, what first comes to mind is the health workers. Of course, I'm not underplaying the role of other frontline workers, but in terms of what we do, we look at there should be different responses to various categories of the frontline workers. For the health workers, I think it has to do with the life insurance because they are endangered in their day-to-day handling of the COVID-19 cases. Then my last other contribution has to do with the campaign, which the moderator has raised about. Here in Nigeria, just last week, the Central Labour Organization of the Nigeria Labour Congress kickstart a campaign for the production of face masks and target was generally the vulnerable frontline workers, the people in the informal sector, the cleaners. And how they do that is through our affiliate. They produce it in huge quantity, courtesy of the trade union movement, and is shared along the road and other places where these frontline workers that are very, very vulnerable and they don't have access to those face masks, because now the face mask has been commoditized. It's very expensive to buy a single face mask. So the frontline workers, the vulnerable, need those kind of face masks and also hand sanitizers. So it is presented, the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress presented it to the presidential task force, which was constituted by the Nigeria's government. The essence was to kickstart a campaign for all stakeholders to key into producing those kind of masks and all other protective equipment needed in order to help mitigate and vulnerable level. So I think the way forward is to intensify those campaigns, and it's very important, especially now most of the countries are now in the 6th week of lockdown. We don't know how the easing of the lockdown would be. So if the lockdown will be eased, so it means more campaign about those kind of protective equipment and democratizing access to those equipment will be key for the entire trade union and labor movement. Thank you.
Thanks to you. Yeah, Yo Portillo. Microphone.
In Brazil, we are facing two big problems. One is the virus, of course, and the other one is the helminth. I don't know the name. Worm is the president, the fascist president. He's incredible, crazy, such as the president of the United States. I think it's worst. And we are running campaigns for impeachment, but it's very difficult. He is extreme right president. We answering Gaia, we can speak against him on the internet because we can't go to the streets, but of course, it's not enough to put him out. We are running campaigns to support Lula da Silva return, and but it's very difficult. We are not sure we are going to impeach him. I think Vinicius is here and he can explain this point, political point, better than me. What I want to say is, in the banking workers sector, for example, we have a very strong union with a national organization, and banking workers are very strong in Brazil. Financial system are very strong in Brazil. And we worked for more than 2 or 3 weeks without masks or any other support. That's why a lot of workers are ill now and many are dying. And so each one needs to prepare their own their protections. And everyone is doing their own masks, such as this one. And we are trying to use this as campaigns. And masks such as this one, can you see?
Oh yeah, very creative, resourceful.
So this protects every part of your eyes, mouth, etc. It's not enough. And what we are doing is our union is we have one meeting such as this one, Zoom, with the bankers every Monday. So we are trying to negotiate, for example, the time the bank are open for the clients. We negotiate some conditions for workers in general. Well, we gain, for example, banks decide no dismiss during the virus crisis. But after the virus crisis, people, clients are more technically prepared to use the internet now than in the past. So for sure, a lot of branches will close and workers will be dismissed after. So we need to have a plan, not only for this moment, but a lot of workers will be dismissed after the crisis as well, especially the unionized ones.
Yeah, so we can see here how like Brazil and Turkey are facing also these challenges towards a government, very authoritarian, right-wing, and so yeah, challenges together and like the way maybe to share some experience and ways to face it and to challenge it as well. So Rahendra had raised his hand, and also Harald, maybe, yeah, to give some other ideas, and maybe then we can move towards another topic, collecting some and move towards something else. So please, Rahendra.
Veronica, shall we also talk about future of work after me? Shall we also talk about this, or maybe we will talk about that later on in another Zoom meeting?
Yeah, you can also use the chat. I'm like following the chat here. If something, because like for the limitations goes like beyond, but I will try to address it today. Yeah, so I have it, Rahendra, sorry for the interruption, and then Harald Vinicius.
Okay, mine is quick. I agree with this, because let's not go to the, again, debating on front line or non-front line. We normally use three terminologies on when we give high priority to the health workers. So we call it frontline health workers. Okay, so that gives a special recognition for health workers, frontline health workers. Then for others, we don't say what workers, we normally say health frontline workers only. And there is another category of the work now is essential work. I'm not going to talk about essential services. Essential services is the terminology that has been used by the government to curtail the trade union right. But I'm saying essential work. So this essential work is also another terminology we can see. Those we might not feel comfortable saying frontline, but we can still say them that essential work in the pandemic. So that is how we can define. Then coming back to your second question of what the unions are doing, since we as a global union, we have been basically focusing on negotiating with the governments and the employers group. Those negotiations are global negotiations as well as regional negotiations and agreement. We have been able to sign a joint statement with the employers group. We have, in some cases, we call it memorandum of understanding. We have established a guideline to the unions to follow in their grassroots and in their local level. And in some cases, we have signed agreement also. I mean, for example, I can tell you on the postal, logistic, and the delivery side, we have signed a joint statement with UPU, Universal Postal Union, which is an intergovernmental UN body representing the postal sector. So we have signed a special MOU with the joint statement with UPU that represents all the postal sector throughout the world. Similarly, we have been able to sign another joint statement with the food and grocery retailers. Those are the companies like the French companies, Auchan and all these Carrefour. There are many other companies that come under frontline, the food and grocery retailing companies. Similarly, we have been able to do the same with the media workers, and there are some other also coming up. We have recently started doing with the tissue production that comes under our graphical and packaging sector.
VVMC म्हणजे काय? अच्छा, but we are giving this in VVMC right now.
Redmi,
असं ती म्हणते.
please.
नाही ती म्हणते, ती विचारते मला, but we are giving these in VVMC.
Yeah, sorry, Rahendra.
Yeah, okay. I will finish in 2 minutes.
Finishing, yeah, then
yeah, okay. So in the local level, our unions are doing basically dealing with the PPE to the workers. In some cases, in the developing countries, especially in the global south, it is not available. The government is not capable to give. So there are the unions helping. And basically, if you see the India or a big country like Indonesia, in Asia Pacific, if I have to say, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and many other countries, unions are being involved into providing food and other things. Because of the lockdown, there are huge migrant workers, the international migrant and as well as domestic migrant workers, they have no job. And they can't go back home because the transportation has been halted. So they neither can go home, nor they get job where they are living into the urban cities, which is very costly. So they don't have anything to eat. So this type of things, the unions are taking up the issues and working. There are many, there are negotiations going on. They are providing transportation services. Some unions are dealing with the insurance packages. Some are dealing with the leave negotiation with the management, providing housing and all this. So these are the things the unions are doing in the ground level. And a global and regional level, we have been working with the government and the employers group, negotiating with them, making sure that workers' rights are not curtailed. So thank you very much.
Thanks to you. Please, Harald. Harald, I saw that you raised your hand. Yeah.
No, sorry, I was just waving my wife out of the room. Sorry.
Oh, no. Okay, so in this case, then I will give the floor to Vinicius.
Thank you, Veronica. So hello, everyone. So just to complete what Joe was telling, we have here in Brazil huge problem because we have almost public sector collapse in terms of health structures and also collapse of the economy. So we have a problem more in ground level that, as I said before, I work in the parliament to the Workers' Party. And considering that the unions were weakened in the last years here because of labor reforms that were made, in terms of negotiation, the unions are very weak right now here. And also we have a government that's very authoritarian. So all this situation creates more difficulties to negotiate labor rights and human rights and so on. So what we are trying to do right now in the parliament is to bring the demands of the working class to the public power, to the executive power. São Paulo state is the focus of the epidemic in Brazil. We have about 3,000 people already dead, and more than 15,000 cases confirmed of COVID-19. And we have other problems. For example, media repression, lack of transparency about the numbers, because we have a problem of sub-notification. There's no tests Also, in the cases of corruption related to the buying of equipment and so on. So quite huge pack of problems. So what we are trying to do is bring the demands of the unions to the public, the executive power in the state. For example, to guarantee public policy to income to the people that's losing their jobs or the informal economy and then unemployment and jobless people. Other point that we are raising also is the problems of the individual protective equipments, not just to the health care trophies, but also to the public sector, like polls, those who are still working, commerce and services like banks and so on, that the enterprise provide the equipments to the working class, no? So that we are also asking places to the health professionals to stay, to do not go back to home and bring the virus to their families. You know? Hotel reservations to health profits. So, and we are asking small proposals like government buying from cooperatives, small and middle enterprises. For example, we have here like cooperatives where ladies can do these masks instead to buy from China or so on. Also, we have asked the government to put off, to suspend road tuitions, water, light, and gas bills, because the people are not working and so. And there's another problem, that's the rise of the domestic violence. So we are trying to bring the demands of the working class to the government to try to deal in this period. I guess is some of the things that I could bring to you. Thank you.
Many topics there, many difficulties. It's also, well, I'm kind of glad to, in that context of difficulties, to hear that trade unions are bargaining in some levels. And as like maybe we all heard doing like glue courses and master, we should try to every time try to see our like power resources and see how, even like in the most difficult times, that maybe there are some power resources that opens or change. I have the feeling that the common sense, like in the Gramscian meaning, Gramsci, is it changing towards a more value of like the health workers. I think the societies and people in general are more aware of the work they are doing and how they are, well, exposing themselves and giving as much as they are doing right now. So I saw a campaign that was not dealt by any trade union, but it says, good that they call us heroes, but we need that the debts we have be cancelled. In UK, they have to pay a lot for being doctors, and still they work and work and work for paying that debt. So, like, the state should like pay all of that debts for them, or the university, well, whatever. But like trying to see how like this could, I don't know, give some other ideas of which power resources will be open and how we can like keep on bargaining on certain topics. Maybe, will contribute for the labor movement in this moment. So maybe finishing with that in this topic, we also have the topic about the unemployed people and the people who doesn't have any income right now are also like, Yeah, Nadia, I will start with you for sure. And yeah, and let's talk about them, and maybe if you want to talk about basic income or all other measures. Please, Nadia Dyson. The microphone.
Sure what is happening with my connection. Okay, think you can hear me now. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, there's an update in Jamaica now. When we look at the unemployment, the government have come up with a stimulus package for the next 3 months. We have a minimum wage in Jamaica, based on my calculation from the exchange rates today, would be about $54 for a 40-hour work week. The proposed stimulus package is $33.50 that the government is giving all workers who can prove their tax for the last year. There's also a compassionate grant, which is a one-off payment that is given or will be given, which will be $74 in total. But then when we look at the trade union bodies, last time I spoke about where Jamaica is now looking back to go to the IMF or looking at deals with the IMF, we all know from an economic point of view where Jamaica stands with being a part of IMF deals. But we are wondering also, based on the public sector union, how will the government pay public sector workers over the period if they have exhausted their funding, and what will happen in the long effect? When we look at our cases for a country of about 3 million population, we are now at 350 cases of COVID-19. 51% of that is from a workplace or contact from the workplace, which was never unionized. And I think we as a trade union look into this and to say, how can this make us stronger, both to the workers that are looking on, the ones who don't want to be a part of a trade union, but we want to use this also as a positive force going forward to say it is important, because many of the workplaces that are unionized have worked well. The union has a lobby to keep things going with PPEs and social distancing, but we still have a problem, but we still need to look at the positive.
Thank you. Does someone else want to make their contribution? This topic. Gaye, please.
Okay, Veronica, I would like to add a few more things. In my opinion, in the rest of this year, I mean, there are two big dangers waiting for workers and their organizations, trade unions. The first one is faster digitalization, faster automation, especially in the sectors what Joe Portillo mentioned, banking, finance sector, but not limited with only with this sector, also some parts of manufacturing industry. We will see a faster automation, which means that more and more workers will lose their job in these sectors. The second danger is about the scale of production. What I mean, let's say 10,000 workers are working in a big car factory. Then the scale in this factory must be changed. We will see that scale will get all scales in production, not only offices, not only banks, not only tourism sector, hotels and restaurants, but also factories, scales of factories will get smaller and smaller. You may see that, okay, this is not problem. This is big problem, friends. Because when this scale is getting smaller, this will mean for trade unions that organizing workers will be much and much harder then. Just imagine what trade unions faced during the crisis in 70s. Because in 70s also scale of production centers got smaller. And it was very difficult for trade unions to enter into workplaces, to organize workers, especially in the case of outsourcing, subcontracting, and so on. Now we will face with a second wave of scaling, I would say. I think unions must do something from today to prepare themselves regarding with these two big dangers. Thank you.
Thanks to you. Please, I have David wants to talk, and also Enung Yani. Yeah? So then, David, please.
Hi. Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, like, I think this feeds into a bigger discussion maybe that we should schedule or put on the agenda for the next meeting regarding the long-term effects of coronavirus, because, I mean, it looks like I've read from certain economists in Financial Times, for example, that the recession that will happen afterwards will be one of the worst in recorded history, at least for 300 years. And I think that if you look at the history of pandemics and of recessions, and the effect that that's had on systems of production, it's hard to predict what that will do. And I think that's worth discussing slightly separately to the immediate problems. It's just a point for the next agenda.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And Enung Yani?
Okay, thank you, Veronica. Well, I want to say about my country in Indonesia, the situation during outbreak today. It's there are the similarly problem with the other countries of the world. But one thing on that I want to share with you about the situation, the worker situation in Indonesia, it is because it is about the trade union in Indonesia still concerned with the what we call about the omnibus law bills draft to the parliament from government. So that's why the movement in Indonesia still focus in the how to work with labor reform in Indonesia. Now trade union more focuses in this issue than the coronavirus in Indonesia, but we trying to ask to government that the omnibus law bills draft still not to talk in the House of Representatives, because it is very hurt us, because we must focus on the COVID-19, but the parliament still focus to the labor reform. So that's why our trade union leader in Indonesia, the three biggest in Indonesia, talk to the our president to stop to talk about the omnibus law in the House of Representatives. Now we're focusing about the how the trade union do in this period, because unemployment in Indonesia is huge, related to the COVID-19. So our trade union decreasing our member because the layoff, there are so many layoff registered to the government relate to the outbreak in right now. That's my contribution to from Indonesia. But one thing that I know about the study from Singaporean scientists that in Indonesia maybe the prediction coronavirus will be end in the 3rd June in this year. So it is it's very make me think about what are we doing after this coronavirus end of this time. So that's why our trade union should focus to the omnibus law first, and then the unemployment in Indonesia. That the government say that they have a scam scam for the unemployment. It is about what we call doing about some card to unemployment. It is about money transfer to the unemployment workers. It's around $200 each month during 3 months later for all of the unemployment related to coronavirus. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you, Nul, from your report from your country, from Indonesia. So, yeah, is someone else interested in give a contribution right now? Please, Hyun-soo.
Oh, thank you, Veronica. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it okay? Yes. I would like to share what is going on in South Korea. So I think that the workers' situation is everywhere the same now. And so in South Korea, migrant workers, especially migrant workers, there are lots of migrant workers in South Korea. And so it is time for the government is they're giving some support fund to all Korean people, workers, so who are in everyone. So, but they are now excluding the migrant workers. Almost around the $1,000 their national government, they are giving the money to the workers and all the people, but except for the migrant workers. So now the labor union sector, and so we are requesting the government that you should give the support fund, support money to migrant workers as well. So that is happening now. And then the other one is that I'm a teacher, and so I'm working for the Korean Teachers Union, and so school cafeteria workers. So teachers are we are not affected by the coronavirus, and so we regardless we are in school or not, so our salary is the same. But the school cafeteria workers, they don't get the money because there are no students, and so they don't need to make a meal. And so, but in March, the government asked the school cafeteria workers to come to schools, and so now they come to schools, and they are cleaning their school facilities, the cafeteria facilities, or by taking some training courses, and so they are now they got paid by doing so, and so there are no problems for the school cafeteria workers. So one thing I would like to say today is that the many foreign media has praised the South Koreans' approach to tackle the virus. And so now, we are, so currently the South Korea the situation is getting better and better. And so the government has a plan to school opening in the middle of the May now. And so everybody agrees in South Korea. So we have one national medical care system. So if I got paid a lot, and so I have to pay more for the healthcare insurance, and so my salary is not good, and so the less money but the same benefits. We have the same benefits regardless of our richness or poverty. So we have the one nationalized Medicare system is very helpful against this coronavirus. So everybody agrees at this point. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, good, thanks. Yeah, well, at this point, I would like to share with you something that I've been researching about the basic income idea and the trade union positions towards the idea, as we are like also well reporting from the countries, but also like thinking about those workers who are not perceiving any income. And like as my master thesis, I co-work on a research that aimed to see what are the positions in Germany, in Finland, and in the UK about the universal basic income. I have to say that though that was carried until 2018, so doesn't have like the very current positions that maybe some of them might change, but I think it's important to keep it in mind because as well as it was in the last meeting topic, and it's something that is raising global interest, and policymakers are every time talking more about it. Well, is it good to be prepared also about kind of the risks that the measure will involve? So to say it briefly, want to share like one argument in favor and one argument against the basic income for trade unions in each country. So for starting, in the UK, the English trade unions are in majority in favor of the basic income measure. The argument in favor is that the basic income, accompanied with other measures of social protection, will be the economic policy desirable and needed in order to protect the precarized workers, informal workers, workers working in digital platforms, all of these workforce that are not protected under the traditional structures of the welfare state. But against the measure, they also point out that it might be other economic policies that being more like maybe cost effective will address the issue of precarization, marginalization, or poverty. The unions and trade union confederation in Germany are in its majority against the UBI idea. The argument in favor is that it is desirable to existential spheres, and is it good to put like the people and this like dignity of life in the center of the trade unions agenda and movement that was raised by the women fraction of the builders trade union, that is GVBAU. So this was only one fraction what was in favor, but the majority of positions were against, saying that, well, it is not desirable to disincentivate the work, the income that come with the work, that like the work has a power to structure the whole society, and that the trade unions doesn't have the power resources to make sure that the UBI will be one that is progressive. That means that it will be one that will help enhance the progressive rights, social rights to develop. Will be possible that the basic income start to be kind of pay it with the money of the state, doing like cuts to the state and put like the money of the welfare system in a basic income instead. And finally, in Finland, well, there are two positions. There is not one certain position about it. They think in favor that this for sure will help to simplify process of getting like social benefits, and the social benefits right now are highly bureaucratized and humiliating people. But against, I think this is also very interesting to see that this may help the employers to take the burden of paying decent wages. And then the wages will become a sort of compensation for the basic income instead of like money that should pay for the whole kind of development of the worker or employee and its family. So well, to see like there things that goes there, it is important if we want to talk more about the basic income for these unemployed people to make sure that this goes in a progressive way, making sure that it's not financed with cuts of the state, and that it goes also like kind of financed with a capital share that goes towards like kind of redistribution towards workers. So yeah, sorry if I talk too much. Lee, please.
No, I might speak a little bit about universal basic income discussions here, because it has come up as well. We have our two largest states. We have one state union structure which is against universal basic income, and the other one, which traditionally is the more progressive one, actually saying, actually, universal basic income, I don't see it as a threat to the power of unions. And you also have one of our unions here representing hospitality workers and a number of other industries as well, actually coming out and saying there should be a jobs guarantee, and for everyone who is not guaranteed, there should be a basic income that isn't means tested. So it's now on the agenda. It has not been on the agenda before, so that is a big development. It's the discussion started before the government came out with its response, which was to pay employers to keep people in work as a kind of a wage subsidy. But what we've seen, often people have criticisms of basic income, but what we've seen with this wage subsidy idea is it's resulted in a lot of rorting by employers finding ways to try and keep the money rather than use it as an actual subsidy for wages. So it's interesting because there's now a lot more experimentation out there in terms of both what governments are doing, but also what people are saying governments should be doing. And I think one thing we're going to have to consider is what happens when this is all over. What is the new normal? We have the government here saying we just want to snap back to how it was. And so that would include, for example, halving the unemployment benefits that are currently. But of course, the longer that this situation goes on, the more people get used to things being the way they were. And, you know, people working from home. So I guess there's that question of what do we want as our vision of things to keep from the current situation, things to change, and, you know, what happens after all of this.
Thanks. Yeah, Jim Lasso.
Hi, comrades, and sorry I missed the time at the beginning, so I've missed a lot of the debate. It sounded interesting, but unfortunately I'll have to catch up next week. I just wanted to come in on a couple of things that were said earlier. I don't know if everyone can hear me. The first one was just to go back to the COVID debate. I just wanted to point out that my union has already had discussions with employers who are seeking to, I wouldn't say it's new ideas, they're seeking to accelerate plans for things like home working, things that they already had in plan. So I'd say it's employer opportunism. That's like in the energy, call center jobs and banking and stuff. So someone mentioned that earlier and I thought it was very interesting, but it's interesting because they're things they were already planning and COVID-19 is giving them the chance to do that. Another example of employer opportunism is some of our car workers have told us that they were trying to send people back into factories, but conveniently saying that the conveners and the shop stewards need to stay at home. So just to throw that out there as another very opportunist way that employers are using the crisis. Listen, I only brought that in for a segue, sorry, but to go back to universal basic income, which is why I originally wanted to come in, I just wanted to say I think the UK debate is a lot more diverse than that. There certainly is a lot of conversations about universal basic income here, but I wouldn't say that the unions have a strong consensus about it at the moment. There is a very long-running debate that's been going on for a couple of decades about whether you should have universal services and universal social security payments, or whether things should be means tested. And in the recent years where we've had a sort of resurgence of the left, there's been a stronger argument for universal services, which has also brought in the idea that you should have a universal system of social security payments, which would be some form of universal basic income. But all the examples you had about services being withdrawn, and the fact that the right is also taking that debate on, and neoliberals have argued, well, if we give everyone money, we don't have to give them free healthcare. They can just use that money to pay for the healthcare when that healthcare comes in, has raised a load of risks with that policy decision. And the other side, that's my union, which is the biggest union, so has been raising concerns. I think some of them may be too polarized, but their argument is, who sets the universal basic income? Where's the influence from unions? Is it negotiating? Are we separating work and the power of our labor from wage setting, which is a huge worry? I think there's a big debate about that, because universal basic income has also come in on the back of queries about automation, potential loss of work and reduction in hours, and also the debate about the fact that we are already heavily subsidizing employers with other social security measures like housing support and tax credits that we have in our welfare system. So it's a little bit more complicated than just saying those arguments. We are already subsidizing employers. Who should we be subsidizing? Is it employers or is it the workers? But then who sets that? Who decides that? And I think there's a really sort of fundamental question about power and our role in society, and workers' agency in setting their own power and their own wages. So I think it's quite important to sort of hear that. Just to finally say, but obviously COVID-19 has made that debate much more real again, and especially because our government has come up with a whole array of different chaotic solutions to different sectors and different kinds of employees and workers. The UK has a very complicated system of legal definitions for kinds of workers, and in that policy there's a lot of gaps and a lot of people falling through, and a lot of unfairness. So some workers can claim money from the government and continue to work and get paid, while others can't claim and can't work. So people have started arguing, well, it would have been cheaper to give everyone the money and then off they go and see what happens. So the debate is a live one, and I think all the things you mentioned are true, but be careful in sort of to generalize and say we're all pro it, because it's a little bit more complicated. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you. And for sure, just pick up randomly too. Thank you, David.
Hi. Yeah, I think it's a really fascinating debate, and I'm not sold on universal basic income as a concept either. I mean, my understanding of it is not as extensive as yours, but my understanding is that it was originally an idea from the right wing, actually, from the more kind of libertarian capitalist thinkers like, I forgot his name. I was going to say Warren Buffett. He looks the same, but the thing is that the idea was to streamline the benefit system rather than having, for example, you know, a sliding scale of benefits for people in different positions. It would be like, no, everybody simply gets this amount of money and that's the end of that. And then you can use that money to buy products and we can keep the economy going. I don't think that that's necessarily something that the left would automatically support. There was an alternative position taken by a guy called Louis Kelso, who wrote a book called The Capitalist Manifesto. But actually what he was arguing was that what would give workers more of a progressive position within capitalism would not be tax money coming from the profits of capitalists anyway, but actually shares in capital. So I was interested in what you were saying about capital shares, because his argument was that if you give all of the workers a share in the company, their only means of income at the moment is remuneration for labor, but they will actually, in that case, get remuneration from capital, and they'll have two forms of income and a greater investment in the system of capitalism. And that was another vision of, I don't think universal basic income, but another way around this problem of workers not having money to buy products. Beyond that, I mean, you look at people like Andrew Yang's campaign in the United States, you also have the problem of like, I mean, the cost of these systems is being questioned from the right, but I think in the end, the discussion is about how it could save money in the benefit system. And I think that's not necessarily what we want to do. I basically what I'm trying to say is I see it being used as a backdoor to try and cut benefit systems in many cases. And I don't see how it's an attack on capitalism or necessarily an improvement in workers' power in terms of structural power either.
Okay. Yo, Portillo? Microphone.
Just to say, speak English slowly.
Sorry.
Okay, nice reminder. Yeah, well, something else, someone else to add to this debate from the US, maybe. Yeah,
sure, I can say something about what's happening in the US. As far as you know, the stimulus bills that have passed by our federal government so far have been, we've seen an expansion of things that, you know, typically have not been seen as possible in the US. So it's an interesting time for us because, like, for example, most workers in the United States don't have paid sick leave, don't have paid family leave. And for the first time ever, that has happened for a temporary period of time. And we also have seen, you know, checks, just cash assistance going to a large amount of people in the United States, and unemployment benefits being extended to some informal workers in our economy, similar to what someone from the UK was talking about. We have a lot of workers who are inappropriately classified, you know, legally as these, as self-employed, for example, that are not eligible for benefits, that now do receive unemployment benefits during this time. But at the same time, we have a large amount of undocumented migrant workers in the US who are not receiving any federal government benefits. And my state, the state of California, has started trying to set up a benefit fund to give them cash support in the same way that, that documented workers in the United States are receiving on the federal level. But it brings up really complicated issues here because, you know, while I support, and I think most people in the trade union movement support the idea of giving undocumented workers in the United States benefits similar to what everyone else is receiving. I also worry, you know, just thinking about how this could end up playing out in the United States. If you're undocumented, do you really want to go even to the California state government and give your information to the government that could then deport you? Because obviously there's a lot of fear of our federal government. Understandably so. And, you know, for us on the question of universal basic income, you know, I think the trade union movement here is still trying to figure out where we all stand on that question, because our welfare system, number one, is very small to begin with. There's not a lot of assistance for poor people in the United States because of the position that our, you know, far right-wing party has taken on welfare benefits for poor and working people. But also our welfare system is incredibly punitive for poor people. And so I think there's a temptation to want just streamlined cash assistance, because right now we have, like 20 different programs to help poor people that are very, very difficult to access and have been made intentionally difficult to access. And I think there's a feeling that having this mix of different programs has allowed too many levers for neoliberal politicians to control the system and try to minimize it and make it difficult for people, whereas just cash assistance would be easier. And I think this has been an interesting time for us to explore the possibility in a moment when there's a crisis, and whether or not the left in the US can use this crisis to push questions like actually taxing the wealth that exists in the United States to pay for a more substantial welfare state. And we're hoping to use that opportunity, but the question of how much support there's going to be for public services is only really coming to the national conversation now. And the Republican Party has taken a position of, we want to let the more left states go bankrupt first before we provide additional cash assistance for any of their public programs. So that's currently where we're at. And it's going to be interesting to see what direction we go in, because even that threat of, we're going to let California go bankrupt is at the heart of it about public sector unions, because if a state declares bankruptcy, they can suspend their collective bargaining agreements and do things like restructure public pensions. So that's the depressing situation we're in here.
Thank you, Kristen. So, well, we are almost finishing then. It's like 5 minutes towards, completing 2 hours. Maybe using this 5 minutes, if someone wants to, I know Vinicius wants to say something, but if want to raise a topic to be, addressed for the next meeting also. We have one that David said before, and also like said names of different topics. So Vinicius, briefly, please.
Thank you. Just to talk about the basic income here in Brazil. Traditionally, we are in favor of the Workers' Party. We are in favor of the basic income campaign, and one of our old senator were proposing during the last decade a law of basic income. But during the crisis, this was voted and approved, but not as the design that we had before proposed. So right now we have today state of emergency during the pandemic. We have a basic income that Bolsonaro was against in the beginning, because one of the reasons of the political crisis here is questions related with corruption in his family, but also that he's not really caring about the pandemic, just the governors, but also he's looking to the next election in 2022 and talking just about the economy. So he's in favor to open the economy very fast and so on. And he was against the basic income here, and then he changed the idea in the second moment and proposed 200 reals. That's about 40 US dollars right now. But the parliament just voted to have a basic income of 600 reals, Brazilian reals. That's about 120 US dollars. And two mothers with 2 kids, it's 1,200 reals. That's about 240 US dollars. This reached about 40 to 50 million people in the country, because basically a third of the population is in the informal economy. So and there's a huge problem, because many people is subscribing, asking the benefit, but they are not, the system is not really working. So many people is still waiting after 1 month to receive this money, but they are not getting it. So it's more or less how is working right now the basic income issue in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Someone else with topics? David?
Yeah, maybe we can revisit like practical forms of solidarity that we can do as the Global Labour Alumni. I was mentioning in the previous one that I spoke to some colleagues from the Hong Kong Confederation of Trade Unions to get masks from them to give to the New York State Nurses Association who had no masks, believe it or not. So, I mean, that's a small act of solidarity. And when that's done, we can publish it and say, hey, look, the GLUE Alumni Network managed to do this kind of symbol of solidarity. I mean, 200 masks is not, but maybe we can put that on the agenda. And then people can think if they have something to offer or if they need something. Maybe we can find some sort of help there.
Yeah, good. Let's put it there. Yo, Portillo?
This time is better for me. I don't know about the others, but I suppose for the Brazilian people, it's better than the other time you had the past meeting. I mean, this time in Brazil is 10 a.m. The time to begin the Zoom meeting. For us, it's 10 a.m., so it's a good time. For you in Germany is 3 p.m., yes?
5.
No, 5 now.
It started at 3, yes.
The
Yeah.
start time, 3 p.m. in Berlin, is nice for us in Brazil.
Okay,
so
good.
Keep this new time, not the past time.
Okay.
This is a good time. This is a good time.
Okay, all right. I will also want to suggest as like, well, first of all, Harold wants to send an email next, like asking other GLUE alumni to have another meeting next week. And then as it will be like after the 1st of May, I guess, yeah. Also like bring some global campaigns. Because I think it's good to have like both kind of practical solidarity we can do and also see like global campaigns that confederations are.
Global campaigns now during the quarantine is not so easy to talk about, but I think we could say solidarity's experience. I think is one good option. And the other is the perspectives for after quarantine. Because you from Europe are almost leaving the quarantine. So it's nice for us to know what you are starting to do in terms of unions, of course. And another thing is 1 week we could meet on Mondays, the next one on Tuesdays, and the other one on Wednesdays. So more people can keep together.
Well, okay, comrades, I think that was all. Thanks for joining this meeting and stay until the end. Have then a good week. A small question, Harold asked me to like finish the recording. As this is my first time, I should like no pause it, stop it and send it. Does someone knows exactly how to do it? Or no? Well, no, I will figure it out. Anyway, thanks and have a good week.
Veronica,
yeah?
Thank you.
Everyone knows about the Zoom group chat, because if you click in Zoom group chat, you can see many people send messages from one to the others.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I had followed like these topics and yeah, I put some words, so don't worry. Yeah, then finally, good week. See you soon.